16 years after they were buried, the Scorpions are creeping back into Parliament's plans. Today, we're unpacking government's plan to revive South Africa's elite crime unit, the end of Vodacom's 18-year Please Call Me saga, and South Africa's digital driver's license, which is a lot closer than you think. Plus, in the Wildcard, how the Suez Canal rerouted the world away from the Cape. My friends, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss the stories that matter. And now, with all that out the way, let's get into it. 16 years after the Scorpions were buried, their ghost is now back in Parliament, and it's haunting the people who once killed them. You see, Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia told MPs this week that disbanding the Scorpions, which was South Africa's old elite crime-busting unit, was a mistake, and that today's turmoil inside law enforcement shows why. The unit was set up back in 1999 to hunt organized crime and corruption. And look, it worked so well that by the time Jacob Zuma became president a decade later, it was gone, officially dissolved amid political infighting and allegations of overreach. So now, almost 2 decades later, the country is dealing with what many see as the fallout. Police corruption inquiries, whistleblowers under pressure, and allegations that criminal cartels have infiltrated parts of SAPS. Kachalia's testimony to Parliament didn't just reopen an old wound. It drew a straight line from that 2009 decision to the dysfunction that South Africa is grappling with today. So he went on to say that government is testing a new organized crime strategy, one modeled on what the Scorpions did right. Fast, integrated, unafraid. Now, the hope is to rebuild the teeth that were pulled out, because if history has shown anything, it's that South Africa doesn't suffer from a shortage of crime fighters, only from the habits of disbanding them. After 18 years in court, Vodacom and Please Call Me inventor Nkosana Makate have finally reached a settlement, closing one of South Africa's longest-running corporate disputes. In case you didn't know, he first came up with the idea for this free Call Me Back service in the year 2000 while working as a trainee accountant at Vodacom. And so what started as a way for his girlfriend to contact him without airtime became a game changer for millions of prepaid users. But recognition took decades. Vodacom's original offer of 47 million rand was challenged through every level of the courts, with rulings swinging between a few million to several billion rand. In 2002, the Supreme Court of Appeal awarded Makate between 5 and 7% of the revenue from the service, a sum that Vodacom appealed all the way to the Constitutional Court. But just this week, both sides confirmed an out-of-court deal. Now, the amount is confidential, but Vodacom says it will reflect in the upcoming financial results. For Makate, it ends an 18-year fight for credits and a chapter that changed South Africa's telecom story forever. So after years of backlog, South Africa finally has a working digital driving license, reportedly built in just 3 months by a 4-person team inside the presidency. Now, this new system developed by the Digital Service Unit, or DSU, and the Department of Transport will let motorists pay, apply, and store a valid driver's license entirely online. This means no queues, no traffic sensors, just a secure app called MyMzansi, which connects directly to Natus for verification. So in a live demo at the Global Digital Public Infrastructure Fund, our communications minister renewed a license in minutes, uploading an ID photo, paying digitally, and generating a QR-coded card that traffic officers can scan on the spot. The system also records eye test results and shows outstanding fines. So the DSU, led by tech entrepreneur Melvin Lubega, built the prototype using open source technology used in countries like India and New Zealand. Now, testing is underway with a public rollout planned for mid-2026. Experts say that security and access will remain key. But for now, a process that once took months may soon take seconds. A rare South African tech project that's, dare I say it, running ahead of schedule. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, government is revamping its proposed 100 billion rand transformation fund, promising tighter governance and foster participation. Companies can now earn BEE scorecard points by contributing to it, though skeptics doubt it will ever reach its full 100 billion rand goal. Cameroon is rallying members of the World Trade Organization to put pressure on South Africa to drop its opposition to a new investment framework backed by most of the developing nations. Now, both South Africa and India argue that the proposal undermines older trade commitments. And just yesterday, the rand slipped to 17 rand 41 cents to the dollar, its weakest in a month, as US job data dampened hopes for a rate cut. Simply put, fewer rate cuts make South Africa's assets less appealing to foreign investors. And on to our Bagel Bite of the day. This is the last one of the work week. Let's end it in the win column. This is not the easiest question, but I back you. Let's see what you got. The question is, which African nation is known as the Pearl of Africa? Is it A, Rwanda, B, Kenya, or C, Uganda? We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. And on to our wildcard section. For centuries, every ship sailing between Europe and Asia had to round the Cape of Good Hope, a grueling 20,000 kilometer voyage that made the tip of South Africa one of the most strategic stretches of ocean on Earth. I mean, when Portuguese explorers like Vasco da Gama traced that route in the late 1400s, they turned the Cape into a pinnacle point of world trade. But then in 1869, everything changed. The Suez Canal opened, slicing through Egypt to connect the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. And suddenly, the world didn't need to sail past South Africa anymore. Travel times to India and China dropped by weeks, and the Cape slipped from the heart of global commerce to a more scenic detour. But history has a way of looping back. You see, when the Ever Given blocked the canal in 2021, and again now as Red Sea attacks push ships off course, the world's cargo lines are once again rounding the Cape. It's a longer, costlier detour that adds weeks to delivery and billions in fuel and freight. But it's also a quiet nod to the route that once built South Africa's place on the map. And as for that Bagel Bite, the answer is Uganda, famously called the Pearl of Africa. Winston Churchill gave it the nickname in 1908 after being struck by its mountains, lakes, and just dense greenery, a landscape so rich in wildlife that even today, it packs more biodiversity per square kilometer than nearly every other country on the continent. And my friends, that's it for today's show, and that is it for the work week. Thanks so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching the show and you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe so you never miss the stories that matter. All in all, I hope you guys all have a fantastic Friday, a cracker weekend, go Bokke, and I'll check you guys all on Sunday evening for the next round of the good stuff. God bless.